Just a few days ago, we saw our Lobos knocking on the door of the Sweet 16 with Donovan Dent and Coach Pitino. A lot has changed over the last 3 days, and this Lobo team will look greatly different going into next season. I'm here to break it down on the Cherry Heat Check. I'm Ricky Thompson. Let's get it started. All right. So we know why we're here. We're here to talk about the Lobos. This is the Cherry Heat Check. As we've heard, Richard Pitino reportedly and confirmed today on radio stations and via news reporting by the Albuquerque Journal, CBS Sports, and others that he will be taking the Xavier job for a 6-year contract. Athletic director Greg Christopher from Xavier reportedly flew to New Mexico on Tuesday after the Lobos returned from their game in Cleveland on Monday. And on Tuesday night, Pitino reportedly accepted that contract per CBS Sports. The 6-year deal obviously came together quickly as he was being courted by other schools, reportedly by West Virginia. Villanova reportedly had a meeting, VCU, among others, that probably took place earlier in the year. And I think Lobo fans all knew this day would be coming, but it doesn't make it feel any better when we saw the news breaking. And just trying to follow it throughout the day, the rumor mill was hot. Lots of Villanova nonsense getting spewed early. I kind of fell into it until we learned later in the evening that the Xavier job that I really wasn't aware was even open, because Sean Miller had abruptly left Xavier for the second time to take the Texas job where Rodney Terry had been fired. Sean Miller was making over about $4.5 million a year at Xavier. Would assume Coach Pitino will be getting about the same. But when I look at this, I think, obviously, even though we knew it was coming, I knew it was coming, even since the end of last season where the Lobos lost in the first round at Clemson. We heard him getting offers from the likes of Louisville, and going into this year, it was like every time a job from the East Coast popped up, Pitino's name was mentioned, whether it was Miami, NC State, Virginia, VCU, now West Virginia, Villanova, among others that came up more recently and just over the course of the past few months. And Pitino did say on the radio today with Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck for 610, the sports animal, that, Pitino said he was forthcoming to AD Fernando Lobo each time he received one of these calls from outside school. He was, straightforward with Lobo and telling him that he was having these conversations. I think everyone knew he was having these conversations, but when it comes so quickly off the back of that painful loss that we won't forget for some time, the ball is just rolling down the hill. The boulders are rolling down the hill on Lobo fans, especially hearing also that star point guard junior Donovan Dent, honorable mention All-American, Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, has also entered the portal. True Washington has also entered the portal as well. So with hearing all those things on top of the loss, it's been a few emotional days for myself, and I'm sure for many people, the highest of highs, losing 71-63 to a number 2 Michigan State team that the Lobos had every, chance of beating. Now to losing probably the whole team, whole coaching staff in a matter of 3 days after getting that first win in the tournament since 2012. And when Pitino started, in 2021, I didn't have the highest expectations. I, in my mind, thought he was probably riding still a little bit off of, the coaches he had been around and his father's name, to be honest. Um, he did have the 8-year stint in Minnesota, which he described himself many times as ups and downs. And today, on the radio, he kind of said that he felt really bad for his family and kind of embarrassed that he was, fired from Minnesota after those 8 years, and had to move his family to a new place. I was only 31 years old, I believe, when he took the job. Now, I believe 42, after completing this fourth season at New Mexico. So, I can't blame him for wanting to be closer to family, wanting to be in a bigger conference, wanting to be in the Big East with his father and build those memories there. Both of his parents, he mentioned, are in their 70s, and I can relate as my parents are of that age range as well, and I don't live close to them. It would, be great if you could have your work and your family close together, closer, to the things you value, and also, being I believe a Catholic Italian guy going to coach at a Catholic school that has good fan support. I believe they get 9 to 10,000 attendance at Xavier. There's no professional basketball team in Cincinnati, but they do love it there. Have made Elite Eights, Sweet 16s, and is obviously a step above of what UNM can offer financially or just historically. So you can't blame him for taking that. I don't think anyone would turn that type of chance down, especially when he's at his peak right now. He's the shiniest he'll ever be at New Mexico, and he knows the upcoming season, probably, losing Dent. I don't care what anyone thinks. Dent was probably going to enter the portal regardless of Pitino staying or not. It's the right thing to do as well. This is once in a lifetime chance to make this money before, moving on to professional basketball or whatever he does. So you can't fault the players for playing this game of, boosting their stock, and when they do, using it for a bigger payday and a school with more name value. But I think, even with all the, with this transfer news, with Pitino now deciding to exit, this job is, one that should still stand out and one that many people will be coveting. I heard Kurt Roth speaking today on the radio also that, people are already reaching out. NBA assistants have reached out about the job. I'm sure other college coaches have, other college assistants. And that not just Pitino, Alfred has also proven that if you win at New Mexico, the next level up is almost a top tier job. And if you prove yourself and can do good things at UNM, that next job, you know, will be the likes of where these guys landed. So looking forward, I think we can attract a very good coach, someone with enthusiasm, the NIL that 505 Sports Ventures bring to the school is, at the top with the other basketball schools in the conference. Football, I believe the NIL money will be growing this year and the years forward. So they will have a big piggy bank to get players that will give this coach an advantage. UNM is set up for success in basketball with the facilities, the fan base, and just the opportunities it brings for someone that wants to come in and take advantage of it. And, just going back to why I think Pitino had to make this move is also with, everyone has said it, and it's plain to see that the Mountain West will be declining in terms of, the amount of power teams they have in it. If you're not aware, Pac-12 has stolen Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State starting in 2026. So one more year of the Mountain West as we know it. Hawaii and UTEP will be joining the Mountain West as full members. Northern and Illinois will be joining to play football, and UC Davis will join as a basketball and I believe other sports, but not football. So right now, Hawaii, UTEP, and UC Davis would be replacing the likes of Boise State, Utah State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State. So I think we have to accept what it is right now. We are caught in the middle of, the flamethrower of NIL, where every time we get a good player, they're going to be, you know, talked to by other schools. They're going to be provided other opportunities. And when a coach does well, as well as Pitino did, he took a team with 6 wins. He brought in 2 great transfers of a Mashburn and a House, and they, on their second year made it to the NIT. And that third year, we know what they did last year, winning 4 in a row in the Mountain West tournament to go on to the NCAA tournament. So I think, it's not going to be hard to find people that want the job. And there's plenty of guys that have been let go as of late. But I'm thinking the search firm will be hired by Fernando Lobo, by Jalen Dominguez, by Ryan Berryman as he just gets back in the state. And, poor Fernando Lobo, he's lost a football coach, a basketball coach, a starting point guard, a starting quarterback, a starting wide receiver, starting running back, a starting shooting guard, not to mention Jason Beck, offensive coordinator. So, in a number of months, this is all what Fernando Lobo, the AD's, had to deal with. And I believe his family just moved to Albuquerque. So God bless that guy on his next few weeks here as he endures, another mountain to climb of finding the right coach. Just looking really quickly, I guess, at what Coach Pitino had accomplished at New Mexico in 4 years. Just growing over that time, I don't think we expected this team to be in back-to-back tournaments after where they had been under Paul Weir and Craig Neal, the 2 previous coaching regimes, who each got 4 years. Before that, we know it was Steve Alford, who had 6 seasons at New Mexico. So looking forward, I would say the average is probably another 4-year coach. Shouldn't expect any more than that, but you should expect less if the coach doesn't perform, because I think this is a program set up for success, set up to bring transfers in, set up to recruit, and just provides, a lot to offer, especially with the national spotlight New Mexico's gotten over the past few years. And that was due to Coach Pitino, the staff, but of course the special players, that we're now losing and that are graduating as well. I guess the other piece of the puzzle that really hasn't fallen into place that we thought Pitino was going to was that of Villanova. It's reported that Maryland head coach Kevin Willard, who is set to play here where I live in San Francisco in the Sweet 16 tomorrow versus Florida, he's reportedly been talking with Villanova. It's been awkward in his press conferences for Maryland over the past few weeks. So it looks like he will probably get the job unless Maryland comes with a monster offer back at him. But with him, kind of being in line for that job, one has to wonder if Pitino and Willard ever spoke before, or during or before, Pitino was going through his discussions yesterday, because Coach Kevin Willard of Maryland did coach underneath Rick Pitino with the Celtics and at Louisville. So one would guess that he's familiar with Richard as well, and that they probably spoke about both those jobs before Richard made that decision. Sounds like that was his only decision to make, as he said on the radio today. That was the only offer he received, was from Xavier, and was the one he took to head east. Looking at what is left of the roster here for the Lobos, was hearing reports that the 2 recruits that were supposed to be incoming freshmen that had signed under Pitino, Jalen Petty and Isaac Williamson. I have not seen this confirmed, but I've heard rumors that they have decommitted from New Mexico, which would leave 2 more scholarships available. The players I'm aware of that have gone to the portal, of course, Donovan Dent, who's now receiving offers from the likes of Kentucky, Gonzaga, USC, UCLA, and Texas Tech, believe it or not. Quentin Webb entered the portal, I believe, on the first day. True Washington entered shortly after Donovan Dent did on Tuesday morning. Gentleman that I have not seen any action on, Philly B, he would be a senior. Ibrahim Asako would be a junior. Braden Appelhans, who I believe had a close friendship with Donovan Dent, and Appelhans himself briefly went in the portal last season to come back. 3 freshmen that were on the team last year under scholarship. Jovan Milicevic will be a sophomore. Cade Dotson would be a sophomore. Daniel Thomas, I believe, will be a redshirt freshman. And then the walk-on Dylan Chavez from Albuquerque, I believe he would be considered a redshirt. So if I'm doing scholarship math right, there will be, as of this moment in time, on March 26th, there should be 7 scholarships open and some players to re-recruit for this coach that I would expect to be in place for New Mexico by the beginning of next week, with the portal already open a number of days. Would also hope that whatever coach the Lobos do bring in, if it's someone from the college ranks, that he's able to bring some of his players with him. But that may be difficult to find. Some of the candidates that we've heard around so far, of course, Isaac Chu, who was the current assistant at UNM under Pitino. I'm very familiar with his voice yelling at Nelly. You could hear it loud and clear when they played at San Jose State because there was no one in the stands. So that was fun for me to hear. But Isaac Chu and the other assistants from New Mexico have reportedly joined the staff at Xavier with Pitino. That does not mean that Isaac Chu will not be interviewed for the job at New Mexico now. I guess the pluses of him that I know of is a good recruiter and would be able to retain possibly some of the talent that the Lobos had on this tournament team. Other than that, I know he was also named on a assistant coach watch list or award winner list from this year, so he has been recognized for his work. Coach Eric Olin at UC San Diego. They were a team that were Division II, I believe, then came up to Division I and had to do the 4-year waiting period that schools of that caliber have to do when they make the jump. They were 30-5 this year in the Big West, their first year in Division I, and they did make the tournament as well. They lost to Michigan in a tough game. I would absolutely love Eric Olin to at least get an interview because he seems like a program builder, someone that's proven, to stick with something, and can rise a team from the Big West, to hang around with Michigan for most of the game from UC San Diego. So he's been there since 2013 to present day. Another name that I've seen thrown around, Alan Huss from High Point, was an assistant previously at New Mexico. My understanding on some of the struggles it might be in getting him is that his buyout currently at High Point may be at a higher amount for non-Power 5 schools, meaning a school like New Mexico would have a higher buyout to pay than the larger schools if Alan Huss was taken from High Point. Albuquerque native James Borrego, who played at Albuquerque Academy, also played at, I think, USD in college, and also coached there from 2001 to 2003. Also coached the Charlotte Hornets and is now an assistant in the NBA. So, a hometown guy, knows what the culture is about in Albuquerque, probably very aware of the pit and what it brings. But can he recruit? After being an NBA assistant for so long, what are his, connections like at the college level would be my question. Some smaller school names I'm just going to throw out are Russell Turner, coach at UC Irvine, and then out here in San Francisco, excuse me if I say it wrong, but the coach from San Francisco, Chris Gerlufsen. Both had great seasons. There have been others. I've even seen Kenny Thomas via Twitter say that he would be interested if contacted, and we know he did play in the NBA a long time. Also did media work for the Sacramento Kings, so very knowledgeable about the game. I don't know if Kenny Thomas is a coaching candidate though, or if he ever will be. I'm sure there's a multitude of other names that people can think of. I'm not trying to be a total college basketball guru. But one would think with Pitino making 1.2 million in his previous year, seeing Jared Calhoun of a Utah State getting a $1.8 million extension here, and then seeing UNLV's coach have a first-year contract of $500,000, which then I believe goes up to $1 million in year two. You're just wondering what the 505 guys, what UNM will be willing to pay the coach. I would prefer a bigger name rather than, someone that does name no one has heard of. I really would like Eric Olin at UC San Diego at this point in time as a top candidate, but we'll see. I'm sure these other NBA assistants that have called about the job also, have every argument to make as well as why they deserve a shot in Albuquerque. But the UNLV coach that I just mentioned is Josh Pastner. He signed a 5-year deal with UNLV, former head man at Memphis and Georgia Tech. Like he mentioned, will make $500,000 in 25-26 before that salary rises up to $1 million and higher going forward after that. He will be replacing Kevin Kruger, who is let go after 4 seasons on the job. And so I would believe the Lobos offer will probably be around $1 million. Has to be one of the most attractive jobs in the conference, up there with a San Diego and a Nevada. And one would ask me why I would put Nevada at the top, and that's because they have a brand new locker room basketball facility, and they will be getting a brand new basketball arena that will be shared, I believe, with one of the casinos there, GSR in Reno. So they will have a very nice place to play soon, and they will get out of Lawler. The other thing for New Mexico, I guess, as they look forward going to this depleted Mountain West with UC Davis, Hawaii, and UTEP coming in as basketball members is, the buyout money that New Mexico and the existing Mountain West teams will be receiving from the Pac-12 teams that are exiting. Potentially for the group of teams staying, the poaching penalties could be around $55 million. I believe New Mexico is set to get around $5 million from that payout from these Big 12 schools that are exiting. So that money will be there. What it will be used for, we will see when the time comes in 2026. But when that money comes in, that will, along with the strong NIL of 505, I think it's safe to say, along with Nevada and UNLV, New Mexico will be, the cream of the crop of basketball in the conference. and a conference that will probably be a one bid league, unless UNLV or Nevada kind of begins to elevate themselves, to higher levels than they have over recent years, even though Nevada has been to 3 tournaments recently, I believe, after missing this year. But UNLV has been down in the doldrums for some time. So we really would appreciate Coach Passner getting UNLV on the right track as the new Mountain West goes forward, because um, we need all the strong teams in there we can get to build that strength of schedule that we know was already an issue in the Mountain West currently. So only looking forward. Um, One quick coaching candidate that a lot of people are interested or are interested in the idea of or hate the idea of is that Nevada coach who we're all very familiar with, Steve Alford. And while I myself would not mind him being the coach, there is no way that is going to happen, as he had an original 10-year contract that almost has $6 million left on it up there in Reno. So there is no way that Coach Alfred will be coming back to Albuquerque. I can assure you that. It's fun to think about, or not fun if you hated him, but um, not happening. One thing that is happening, though, that I did forget to mention is Colorado State has hired a new coach after Nico Medved exited to Minnesota a few days ago. That coach will be um, an assistant that was on the staff, Ali Farouk-Manesh, former UNI Panther, and that is Northern Iowa Panther, who hit few big shots for the Panthers years ago. Now, one of the hottest coaches, up and coming coaches in the country, and his culture, that he built with Coach Medved will be preserved and carried on here for the Rams. So you have to feel good for Colorado State. Makes you wonder if the Lobos would then, you know, after seeing that, think harder on Coach Chu, who was the assistant at New Mexico, who will be getting an interview for sure. But I don't think you can be short-sighted and just think about retaining the current players. As we know, every year, 75% of the roster is probably going to change over, and whoever we retain, for next year will probably be gone the year after anyway. So I'm going to wrap up here. Appreciate everyone for chiming in on Twitter and wherever you find me listening. If you like the show, tell somebody about it. I won't ask you to like or subscribe. I don't really care. I just want to talk about this and share it with other people that enjoy. Here on the Cherry Heat Check, I will be checking out here and hopefully checking in with everyone the next time the Lobos hire a coach. Expect more players to enter the portal. Don't be scared. It's all just part of the game that the Lobos now have to play in this NIL world, where schools of our kind get kind of eaten up and taken for everything they're worth and left behind with some holes to fill. But we have the pockets to fill them, and the fans that will support them. So the future is bright. Pitino did a great job of bringing the light back on us, and I think whoever the next coach is will continue to have it shine, hopefully. So I'm Ricky Thompson. Again, thank you. This has been the Cherry Heat Check.